What's going on, Bob? That looks great. Got a Runebind and then a couple Violet Caresses here. Opponent's playing Martial Josephina, which is likely a Ardent deck. I guess it could be the Sockets deck too, huh? They let on blood. How's it going, Micromom? So this hand actually is lacking a little bit in selection. This deck's got a lot of card selection in it, and this hand doesn't have any of it. So hopefully we hit our third resource on time. We don't actually play that many resources. Hope we hit Focus, Theorize, or a Shard next turn. If we're really lucky, our opponent's first play is going to die to this Violet's Crest by taking 1 point of damage. Opponent's got a slow Shard on too. That's great for us. Hey, Immortal. Heart's Whisper. Alright, well, I'm going to go ahead and grab a Blood with this. This is our only double Sapphire card in the deck, and most of our resources make Sapphire, so I think we're supposed to grab Blood first there. That's a 3-4, that's annoying. So opponent's deck likely doesn't have anything that dies to just 1 point of damage, so this first Violet's Crest, we're just going to take a point at their dome. The first Violet's Caress does 1 damage and gains us 1 life, and then the second Violet's Caress will increase to doing 2 points of damage, third one does 3, etc. So every time we cast Caress, it does extra point of damage. This is eventually our win condition we are comboing off. Yeah, we were tuning the list some more for the CCS. That's actually a pretty miserable draw. Like I said, we wanted to hit a resource or some selection to try and find a resource here. Yeah, we ended up just cutting all of most of the troops and just like going for a trimmer build, having more card draw in it. The Heart's Whispers have been pretty good. We're gonna take 3 here. Maybe they'll play something that 2 damage can kill. If they have like an Animus of Nulzan here, we can point this one at their dome, and the third one will deal 3 points of damage, which is nice. Ended up playing a Diamond Sapphire control deck in the CCS today, which was like an okay choice as far as archetypes go, but the deck list that my group ended up playing was not particularly good. Holidays ended up top 8ing with it, but I stand by that we probably made a poor choice. The archetype was a fine choice, but the configuration of the archetype that we played was definitely suboptimal. Thankfully, opponent's draw is kind of anemic here as well, so we got that going for us. There's a Century of Nulzan. Alright, I mean, that's fine. That's kind of scary. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They have a 2-mana... Sweet. So they don't have a 2-cost constant thing, so we just get to blow away this Animus with our Violet's Caress, which feels good. Next Violet's Caress will deal 4, so like, our opponent's not putting us under any pressure here, which is nice. We spent most of our time for the CCS. God bless it. I mean, I guess we're not drawing 3-mana things, so this could be worse. An opponent doesn't, like, is just hitting us for 3 a turn, so, like, not the biggest deal. Yeah, but that's the last CCS was different. It was an established format, and like we kind of knew what we were doing with things, and we knew that the Diamond Sapphire list that we had was good. This time around, the Diamond Sapphire list we had, we did not spend a lot of time tombing, and it was probably 10 or more cards wrong. Like last CCS, Bob, I top 8 and you top 16, and we looked at ourselves and we're like, we're really happy with this deck list. And this CCS, and we finished, and I was like, I am not, like, I was 2 matches into the CCS, and I was like, this is miserable, and we played the wrong deck. Or like we played the wrong version of this deck. So this we're going to have to kill later, but I don't want to spend just 1 resource transmogging this now because I would like to spend all 3 to Bounty. So Bounty is also an Escalate spell. The first one draws me 1 card, the next one will draw me 2 cards, etc. Penta with the 12-month subscription. Thank you very much and welcome back an entire year. It's a long time. Thank you for the continued support. Syzygy is a non-bow with Psychic Ascension, but the logic is basically that we see so many cards that sometimes when we can't actually combo them, PA is going to be a faster way to actually kill them because our deck just draws more cards. You don't always have Syzygy going, so kind of think of it as like a 5th Syzygy. I 10 out of 10 should have played this deck in the CCS because I don't think it was that much worse than the deck we played, and I would have had more fun playing it. That is a Violet's Caress, which means we can just kill this MC, which is kind of sweet. And we drew a resource, which is fantastic. So go ahead and grab another blood here, and then take this Caress and kill my opponent's MC. I could actually kill this if I wanted to, because it does 4 at this point, but MC makes, or draws them a card every turn, basically, when he readies, so I'm going to nip that in the bud, I think. Another Grimskull Tactician, yep. And the deck my opponent's playing is kind of the kind of deck that this deck that I'm playing kind of has a fairly good matchup against. Their deck's like kind of slow and clunky. It's not doing anything particularly impressive. That's a Lanupaw site. So I'm going to go ahead and cast Heart's Whisper here. Fate Weave's a great mechanic, so this card draws me 2 cards, but I get to Fate Weave first, so I get to guarantee either a resource or a non-resource on one of these draws, and I want to guarantee a resource for sure. And then I'm going to go ahead and play this Blood Ice out. And I think I'll take a non-resource at this point. A Syzygy would be great. We're technically dead in 3 on board, but like we've got Runebinds and Transmogs here, so going to be dead in less than that, realistically. Altar of Nulzen is pretty good. It allows my opponent to start drawing a lot of cards. I guess I don't really care about that. I'm just making a thing right away, sure. I'm going to go ahead and transmog this Grimskull Tactician, I think. So because of Sentry of Nulzen, it actually transmogs the Grimskull into a 1-drop. So yeah, on average 1-drops have a lot less than 3 power. Probably like 1.2 or so. Tron Dragon! With the 10-monthly subscription. Welcome back. Thank you for the continued support. I do appreciate it. Violet's Caress is excellent. So let's go ahead and play this Lanupaw site. This makes the deck's action resource and troop my deck draw a card when I play them. You know, maybe I'm supposed to Caress first there, actually. Nah, I'm just going to pass their turn. They could play something scarier out with the Caress. And, like, this is going to be a good example of a game where, like, the Psychic Ascension is probably going to be great. We're likely just going to, like, cast the Psychic Ascension and win the game that way as opposed to actually combo killing our opponent. Most, like, when a fair game of Hex is just, like, the Sapphire Blood Control deck that, like, draws cards and casts Violet's Caress as removal spells. Because, like, this is the 5th Caress, right? Yeah, because it would be 5 points of damage. So we've gained 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 7. We've gained 10 points of life this game. Alright, so that's an Animus of Nulzen. Yeah, that's fine because I'm going to be able to shoot that here with this Violet's Caress. So we'll nail that for 5. All other things got slightly larger, but once we get the Psychic Ascension going, it's probably not going to be a big deal. I'm going to go ahead and Runebind the 4/5 here, I think. This lets me play Psychic Ascension out next turn and still have mana for this Runebind up, which is nice. Or still have a resource for this Runebind up, I should say. Mana is a thing from that non-Hex game that we sometimes play. Fate Weave not good enough. Please fix Hexed. And the sweet thing about Psychic Ascension in this deck is because all of our cards basically draw more cards, we basically just get to, like, keep chaining through all of our things and making a bunch of troops. 2 bows! Oh my god, I'm still subbed to this 22 months later. That's such a long time. Why have you put up with me for so long? I don't understand. Equinox! Not here for Hex, but I hope more Magic is coming soon. We're not playing Magic this evening. This evening I'm just hanging out and drawing some cards. Magic doesn't quite enable me to draw as many cards as Hex does. I guess we draw a lot of cards in Grixis Delver. Well, thanks for stopping by and renewing the sub Equinox. We're actually planning to stream Magic tomorrow night. After the Open ends, I plan to find one of the sweeter decks from the Open and play a little bit of it on stream. So when my opponent, so now that I'm a Paragon, I thought my champion changed because we played the Psychic Ascension, and now whenever I play an action, I'm gonna get a random troop generated into play. So basically, my actions are gonna create troops to block, and like this action draws 2 cards, this action draws 2 cards, this action draws 2, discard 1. So like all of my actions are just gonna like chain through and be more actions here. Oh, Hollow Ace with the 14-month resub. I'm totally here for the Hex. Aren't you the best, AC? So, opponent's going to attack with these two. I'm going to go ahead and Runebind their 9/9 here and probably make a chump blocker. Yep, so... And actually, this 1/1 can just trade with their 1/1, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So, we take a hit here. I think we want to go ahead and play both these Theorizes, get some 2-drops. I'm looking for a Violet's Caress so we can kill this Grimskull Tactician. I might just Transmog it, actually, now that we drew that, but Violet's Caress would be preferred, I think. It would allow us to gain some more life back. I think I'm ditching... No, I can play the Sight this turn, right? Ditch the Song, maybe. Because I want to play a resource. If I play a resource, I can go Sight, Theorize. Oh, this Theorize is Prophesize. I should have played that one first. The Diamond Sapphire list felt like it wanted more cards that draw cards, in my opinion. Like, it didn't have enough 2-mana, or 2-cost things that draw extra cards for us. Give that minus some power. Yeah, I'm just going to play... Or hit my champ power here, create a random action. Retreat, put a card you control in your hand. That's pretty good. Let's play Syzygy out here. I think the clashes felt pretty mediocre. I think I would not play the clashes if I had to again. I'll play Lanupaw Sight, so I'll kind of snowball through. And maybe I'm actually not supposed to play the Syzygy out here. Just because, like, it is going to start making my things cost 0, and my things cost negative costs and 0. I can't actually make troops with them, but by the time this costs 0, I'm probably just snowballing through my deck to combo kill them with Violet's Caress. And, like, this is a good showing of, like, why Psychic Ascension is super reasonable. Is, like, this game, we're, like, probably not going to win the game with Psychic Ascension, but it's going to, like, kind of go wide for us and let us cut through our opponent. I guess they're giving me the option to sacrifice the Syzygy to the Dark Heart, but that's probably wrong. And tap my idiots down, sure. Ooh, that's actually kind of scary. It's going to have 7 power. Because I'm going to need to block with something here. Oh, I guess I can Transmog that, right? Yeah, that's not too big of a deal. Oh, well, that's kind of sweet. I can retreat this Thunderfield Seer next turn and then replay it to draw another card and re-prophesize with it. Seems awesome. So I'm going to take 1 from the Grimskull Tactician. I'm going to use my Whimsy Witch to block their 3/3. I'm going to sack my 1 Forge with their Dark Heart. So there's a Violet's Curse that draws cards. Alright, deal 6. Yeah, you mean I guess we'll just kill the Dark Heart. So Violet's Curse kills that, makes a thing. We gain some life. Maybe I'm just supposed to target them. We probably could just kill them here if I'd have started targeting them. Oh, right, this makes a copycat. I guess I'll make another Web Scribe. Did I play a resource already this turn? I did not, so that'll let me have an extra Web Scribe here. I can play this. Oh, I can scrounge my Thunderfield Seer. That's funny. Another Transmog. Sweet. I'm going to play this Bounty of the Magus, draw a couple cards. And then we can Arcane Focus, see what we find. Oh, Daring Freebooter. I would love to stun this. Don't mind if I do. And now the goal here is to get our Bounty of the Maguses to cost 0 and kind of draw through the entirety of our deck. And then when we draw through the entirety of our deck, we can, what's the word I'm looking for? Let's put these triggers on these dorks. We can Violet's Caress our opponent to death a whole bunch, basically. I'm gonna have my champ power here, get a random action. I think we're just passing the turn here at this point. I have these Transmogs up. Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and pass. And these Transmogs make sure things don't get out of control. And then next turn, between this Bounty that draws 4 cards, and this Focus and this Theorize that draws 3 cards, will probably combo off our opponent. There's 31 cards left in my deck, and this will pick up 4 of them and put itself back in, so good chance we find, like, another Bounty. Like, Gravengeist's very dead opponent, you found a use for that hero fall. Oh no, not another Dark Heart, it's so scary. This one doesn't even have flight, so good for us. Sure. Yeah, so we're definitely just going to combo them with Syzygy this time around. I'm going to go ahead and transmog this Storko. And that's one of the things Immortal Echoes commented, that we cut some of the Coyotls out of the deck. By cutting the Coyotls, we make it so... what's the word I'm looking for? By cutting Coyotls, we make it so removal is just like really, really bad against us, which is nice. Sacrifice 2 non-socketed things. Start by playing this Bounty of the Magus. Draw 4 cards. See if we hit another Bounty of the Magus. We hit some Violet's Caresses. So now we're just going to start killing my opponent. So this is how we actually win the game when we're combo killing. We Violet's Caress targeting them. We Violet's Caress targeting them. And now we only need to draw 1 more Violet's Caress to kill them. In between, like, these Theorizes and this Arcane Focus, we're probably going to find a Violet's Caress. Yeah, and we did already. And, like, we have the ability to, like, draw a bunch more cards here, right? But our opponent is actually just dead. So, zip, zap, zoogity bop. And then I don't actually think we want to reserve in this matchup at all. There might be merit to, like, bringing in Dread End, but I think that's just worse than, like, sticking to our main deck play. Maybe, like, nah, the Transmogrifades are probably better. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and click Submit. The kind of, like, mid-rangey decks are matchups that are really good for this deck. Decks that aren't trying to get under you and they don't have a lot of interaction on the chain. So, like, if our opponent had, like, interrupts in their deck, like Verdict of the Ancient Kings or Deny, we would board in Withering Gaze. If our opponent was an aggressive deck, we'd board in Cheap Shot. And, like, against control decks that have interrupts, Withering Gaze, we usually cut Transmog. And against the faster decks, we trim Lanupaw's Sight and Psychic Ascension for the cheap shots. Might want Into the Known Route, maybe. I don't have a video. I have a written piece here. You can check this out. It has all the important differences written down. This hand's a little medium. It's quite a bit resource heavy, and like we're probably gonna draw 1 to 2 more resources with this hand. And it doesn't have a Syzygy to start, and it's missing a resource for the Violet's Curse, and the first Violet's Curse isn't particularly good, so I think I'm going to mulligan this hand. This hand only has 1 resource in it, but it's a Blood Ice, which means we get to Fate Weave. Yeah, Cliffy, if you have any questions about specifics too, feel free to ask in chat. There's always myself or other people around that are usually happy to answer. But all these cards are pretty good, so what Fate Weave allows us to do is it allows us to guarantee the top card of my deck here is going to be a resource. And if you look on my deck list on the side there, all of the resources in this deck are either Sapphire resources or they're more Blood Ice. So if we get exactly a Blood Ice, we'll be a little bit sad. Alright, their hand is again slow to start because their deck's kind of slow on average, which is good for us. Oh, you know what? I cut the Sapphire Ice from this build. There's just... I forgot I did that. And look, we had a Sapphire Shard, so I get to play that. And I get to play the Syzygy. And I get to play this Arcane Focus, which lets me look at the top 2 and draw 1 of them. Or put 1 into my hand. Hopefully find another resource or another cantrip here. I'm waiting for the format to shake out a little bit first, Immortal. I was going to look at... I need to comb the CCS deck list for anything budget-friendly, and then create some of my own lists. So neither of these help us find resources, or our resources are a little bit sad. Before I switched to using the Avatar of Greed banner, I actually was using a Coyotl banner. Animus, yep. I should probably put some more ices back in this deck, honestly. I had more. I probably want like 6 or 4 right now. Resource. Rats. Alright, well, let's play this Thunderfield Seer out. And then we'll go ahead and we'll transmog this Animus. And the nice thing about being resource light is that Syzygy makes our next transmog free, so we technically have interaction up here. I love when transmog is just like actual factual removal, so this Pool of Wrath doesn't do anything for them because it conscripts ruby cards and they don't have ruby thresholds. Yeah, basically, and actually that's why I'd cut them, right? Like, I cut them the other night when we were testing this deck against the Gauntlet to see, like, if having less slow shards would make things better for us, but it really doesn't. This thing's gonna deal 2 to me every turn. Deathcry, Summon an Abomination. So I'm just, or it's gonna deal 2 to me, yeah, so this thing's gonna chump block ASAP here. That's not a resource. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and Runebind the Sentry. Not only does it make this Runebind free for later, but it draws me a card. That's another 3 mana draw card. Which kind of sucks. Because, like, that Sapphire Shard that I picked up on the second turn there, if that had been a Sapphire Ice, it would have guaranteed me a 3rd resource. Yeah, I agree with that logic. I actually just forgot that I had made that change until I was looking at it. I was like, is my deck list partially cut off here? I feel like... Huh. Yeah, I'm going to Runebind this. I feel like if we hit a resource next turn, I really want to get one more hit out of my Syzygy. And like if they draw a shard, we're going to feel a little bit bad, but I think it's worth doing that. See if they attack me here with this. I mean, they probably should, right? It's like getting through 3 versus dealing 2 to me guaranteed. Resource, please. That's a Violet's Caress. Yep. We're working by Hex Singles. Hexprimal.com is the ad above my head. You can buy singles from them. There's a discount code there as well. So it's just like Magic Online or a paper TCG. You could just fill a shopping cart and hit checkout. And then in terms of getting the cards, they just send them to you via the in-game client. You'll get the in-game mail system. Usually it just takes a short little while. Alright, so opponent does that. I think I'm actually going to Violet's Caress my own dork here, because he's dealing 2 damage to me every turn, and then my next Violet's Caress is going to deal 2 damage, and I can use it to kill their Nefarious Corruptor. So hopefully we find a resource here. Please, please, please. Hey! And it kind of sucks that that's a slow shard. I'm going to put another resource on top of my deck here. Hopefully they brick on drawing a resource for a turn so we keep my Syzygy around. I don't have a final verdict. I haven't played with it enough. We spent most of our time testing other things. No, if I Runebind the Syzygy, it turns into a constant. Oh, you know what? You know what I should have done? I should have Runebound my Coyote, is what I should have done. Thank you for... That's not what you were intending to tell me to do. You were going to tell me to Runebind my own thing. But I should have... You were going to tell me to Runebind the Syzygy, which is still a constant. I should have Runebound my Coyote, because when they made me sacrifice a Kayasa, I could have then sacrificed the Coyote as a thing. Yeah, that would have been much better. Much, much better. But I had Thunderfield Seer out at the time, so I could have done that, which would have been aces for me. It would have been a sweet line, and I missed it. It's kind of sad. Alright, Sapphire, I'm going to go ahead and play Heart Whisper here. Do I want to guarantee myself another resource drop? I think I just want non-resources at this point. Psychic Ascension, that could... The second draw was a resource too still, so that could be good. Maybe we can stabilize off of this. I'm not actually sure. We're probably a little bit too far behind at this point. Maybe if, like, Bounty of the Magus finds, like, a Violet's Caress to kill this and gain us some life. Yep, that's where we have a command. Justice. These people do ask about it very frequently. Yeah, I have a 5/5. Taking 5 here instead of combat. Yep. Yeah, I'm a little bit sad with myself that I missed it, for being completely honest. Almost certainly dead here. And again, like, the fact that my resource base is wrong and I have less ice than I should is definitely hurting us here. Cities Exchange, sure. And that's a Violet's Caress. Well, that's a card that can help us get back in the game. So let's Violet's Caress the Storko. And cast this Bounty of the Magus. Alright, let's Theorize. Maybe... We probably need to, like, Theorize into another Violet's Caress next turn. We're taking, like, 5 on this hit here. Going down to 4. Potentially, if they have another speed troop, it could be in even more trouble than that. Sure, there's Adrenals in. My next Violet's Crest is dealing 3 and gaining 3. That's really good for us. They just, like, don't have... Oh, I guess they have... They have that. So they don't have a lot going on, though. So if we find another Caress here, we could, like, Theorize into Caress and then Caress something, and then the following turn, like, play Psychic Ascension and start going crazy with that. Like, generating lots of blockers for ourselves. So we get 3 looks at a Caress here. Make a couple of redraws, technically. Like, Focus is a redraw. Another Theorize is a redraw now. That's another Caress. Alright, this is drawing 2 cards. I think that's better than this. So let's bin the Sight at this point. I'm going to go ahead and do this. I think I'm just going to go ahead and Caress now. And the Psychic Ascension is getting cheaper. Oh, geez, I'm so dumb. Holy crap, I just killed myself. That had the major gem that made an abomination. Yep. How well off would we have been? We would draw another Caress. We would have drawn another bounty. Yeah, we'd probably win this game too. Wow. And we stumbled a lot in the beginning there. I completely forgot the gem that their thing had. So their thing was gemmed, so it makes a troop with power and toughness that's the same when it dies. So, and Caress is a quick action, so I should have just played my resource and passed, and then I could have killed their thing, and they would have attacked me for 4. And then like end step, bounty the Magus, and then on my turn, just draw some more cards, play my thing. So we missed one sweet line at the beginning of keeping our Syzygy to like kind of snowball through our deck faster, and then I missed that they had the gem there at the end. That's fine. We won the first game, so we get to take game 3 on the play here. And then after this game, we're going to put 3 or 4 more ice back in the deck. How's it going, Hawk? It's going well. Hanging out, playing some Hex, drawing some cards. I think this was my favorite deck. We had through all the testing. I really wanted to play this deck in the CCS, but it's just like not great against the really aggressive Ruby decks. But on the ladder, we can give up some of those matchups, so that's fine. I'll put a non-resource on top with this. We got 3 in our opener here. I don't know if I want to go up to 8 ice. That might be a little high. 6 ice is probably fine. I know I definitely want more than 4. Excuse me. Another Caress. Okay, so now I'm just going to pass the turn here with the plan to Caress them to the dome here at end step. And the reason for that is I want the next Caress to get up to 2 damage. That way we can start killing their 2 and 3 drops. So hopefully they play MC here. And we can just alternate in. Yep, that's fine. So let's take this Caress and send it upstairs. So we're really looking for things like Lanupaw's Sight and Heart's Whisper at this point, kind of generate some card advantage. Alright, another Theorize. Let's hit that for now, see what we get. Probably don't need that many Transmogs past the turn. And like while Theorize is like letting us filter through our deck a little bit here, it's not actually helping us generate card advantage. This hand needs... I think we're mostly just looking at resources at this point, right? Wow, they're just not doing anything, so we're under no pressure. Just get to hang out and do our thing, which feels good. Heart's Whisper. Lanupaw's Sight. Send me up. It means we miss our resource drop for this turn, but it does mean that we're going to get to kind of snowball through some advantage now. Actually generate kind of a mass of cards, which would be nice. So that adds, when you play this draw card, to the next resource action troop in our deck. So when you socket a card, that's when you cast it, or it's during deck construction and during reserving. So the gems that you have, like let's say you enter a tournament, for the game 1, all of your socketed cards are going to have the same gems, and you can change them in between games 2 and 3. And which gems you have access to depend on which thresholds or colors your deck has access to. Alright, let's play that. Resource that draws a card, thanks to Lanupaw Sight, to pick up. Runebind. Right, let's go ahead and cast this Theorize, see what we find. Another Caress. Man. I think I'm just spinning Transmog at this point, because this Caress is dealing 2, which is enough to kill this. And then the next one will deal 3, which is like, you know, once Violet's Caress turns into a real removal spell, becoming a control deck is pretty easy. Caleb, thanks for the auto host. Welcome to folks coming over from Caleb's channel. We are hanging out playing some Hex TCG this evening. It's an all-digital TCG that's kind of similar to Magic, but has some unique aspects to it. So, opponent's casting Withering Gaze. We'll just take a look at our hand and take one of our cards away of their choice. I think I'm just going to let this resolve. We could Runebind it, just to, like, draw a card. Yeah, maybe that's worth it. So, like, this card was prophesized, so, like, if they Withering Gaze my Runebind, I'm not going to get a chance to draw it. So, yeah, I'm going to do that. Just basically guarantee my draw with this Runebind. The Mysterious Rune kind of just delays it, so next time my opponent draws a resource, they're going to get to recast this for free. Punt Count Infinity! Still subbing 14 months later. Thank you for the continued support. 14 months is a long time. Welcome back. I do appreciate it. Alright, so we got a Syzygy here. We're going to go ahead and play my resource out. I think I'm just going to pass the turn. I don't really care what they take at this point, I don't think. It would be nice if they don't trigger the Mysterious Rune right away so we can, like, get this Bounty of the Magus going, but it is what it is. So we know my opponent drew a resource for the turn because this Withering Gaze is recasting from the Mysterious Rune. We've got the Syzygy down, which feels good. I guess if my opponent has a dark card here, they might take my Transmogrifade away. They took one of my Violet's Caresses. That's interesting. That's the one I'm okay with them taking here. I would like to keep my Bounty of the Magus to start getting a critical mass going. If they don't have a dark card here, we're going to be in a great spot. Yeah, Banshee's fine. So they have a 4/4. This Violet's Caress is going to kill this. Fair Immortals. I'll probably delete that other one. I don't think we're playing that deck again anyways. Let's go ahead and play this Bounty of the Magus, which makes the other bounties cheaper. Now the first bounty draws one card, and the next bounty is going to draw two cards when we find it. So, see, there's another bounty. Discard this resource. Go ahead and play this out. And every time we play a bounty, Syzygy makes all of them cheaper. So eventually these bounties become free, and they draw more and more cards, so we're able to kind of loop through our entire deck in a turn, which is powerful. This game has a number of mechanics that can't work in paper. This card's actually a great example of a kind of a constructed staple that wouldn't work in paper. This reverts, so kind of resets it to its base stats, and then transforms an opposing troop into a random artifact, constant, or troop with -1 cost. So it's kind of a 1 cost downgrade for target card my opponent has. In fact, we're going to spend that downgrade on this Animus of Nulzan here in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and use this, and this is going to turn into a random 3 cost card here. So, and like if we wanted to resolve a Transmogrifade in a paper TCG, we'd have to like have this giant set of every possible 3-drop that's in standard and like generate a random number. So like you could technically do it, but it's really not practical, right? There's a number of small things like that that like you could kind of like make them happen in paper. So this Bounty of the Magus is going to draw 2 cards for 2 resources, and then Syzygy makes the next one cost 1 less, and now they draw 3 cards. And Bounty of the Magus puts itself back into my deck as part of its resolution. The Thunderfield Seer is another example of a mechanic that's not quite, would be very difficult to track. It requires like trusting your opponent in paper. So when this card enters play, it adds the line of text to the next action in my deck, draw a card. So basically, in order for this card to work in paper, you would have to trust your opponent saying, oh, this is the action I just drew, which, you know, that's not really practical in a competitive setting. I'll go ahead and use my Bounty of the Magus. And if we draw another Bounty of the Magus here, we're just going to start looping through my deck, which would be great. We did not. That's sad. It's Arcane Focus. Maybe find a Bounty of the Magus. Alright, take a Violet's Caress. So this does 4 now at this point. And actually, you can see here, this Arcane Focus says it was prophesized, so this is what my Seer had gone on to. I think I'm just going to pass the turn here. My opponent plays another Animus of Nulzan. I would like to kill that with Violet's Caress, I think. Do you have a favorite Hex deck? I think this is my favorite deck in Hex right now. It's just like so super obnoxious. Well, that sucks. This card makes me discard my entire hand. That's rude, opponent. I guess I'll Violet's Caress this and then hope the top of my deck here is hot. They do have a non-rotating format in Hex. It's called Immortal. Which Hex is a newer game than Magic, obviously, so we just had the 7th set release, so Immortal isn't that different from Standard right now, because Immortal only contains 2 sets that aren't currently Standard legal. Alright, Thunderfield Seer. When Hex's next set, set 8 releases, then sets 3 and 4 will rotate out of Standard, so every even Hex set release, the oldest 2 sets rotate out of Standard. You're right, the ad is up above my head in this game. So again, the next action on my deck is going to draw us an extra card. Dark Heart, that's annoying. Hopefully, well, I guess both my Escalate cards are free already, right? So Dark Heart's not that annoying. I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice a Thunderfield Seer here to this, I think. Even if we draw a resource here, it's not bad, because one of the things that's different in Hex from Magic is that we each have champions. And what my champion power says is that normally, like, drawing a 7th resource at this point in the game would be terrible. But my champion power says when I hit 7 charges and I get a charge every time I play a resource, I get an Oracle Song, which is a spell that draws me 2 cards. So kind of lets me gas back up in the mid to late game. So this Heart's Whisper gives me a mechanic called Fate Weave. So this Heart's Whisper is going to draw 3 cards because it's prophesized, and at least one of them is guaranteed to be a non-resource here. And then we found a Violet's Caress, so I'm going to go ahead and Violet's Caress my opponent's Animus of Nulzan for now. And then I'm going to go ahead and play that 7th resource that, like, in a game like Magic, like, I would be really sad to draw a resource here, but this activates my Dreaming Fox, which gives me Oracle Song, so I can keep doing stuff here, hopefully. Draw 2 cards. Ugh. So those resources are not fantastic, because I cannot activate my champion power for another 7 resources. So, like, if we live to draw 5 more resources from here, we'll be okay. So this card makes each player sacrifice a non-socketed card. So this card's socketed. It's got these gems here on the side. Gallows Ghast. Yep. Hopefully we draw some gas next turn, otherwise we're going to die pretty quickly to these Dorkos. A lot of the mechanics from Magic translate to X in terms of, like, drawing cards and things like that. I think on average, the power level of Hex cards is, like, a little bit higher than Magic. Like, Hex's standard format, on average, the power level of cards is better. So, like I said, Immortal's still kind of new in... That's another Syzygy. Alright, I'll play that. And play the Sapphire. Yeah, Runebinding the Dark Heart does... Runebinding the Gas does kill it, because... So this card turns my opponent's card into a rune, which is not a socketed card. And then my opponent's Dark Heart is going to make them sacrifice this, which is convenient for us. So we're kind of just biding our time here. We don't have that many resources left in our deck, so once we hit, like, a Bounty of the Magus, we're probably going to snowball into a pretty huge advantage here. There's only 19 resources in our deck total, and we've played 8. This is 9, and there's a 10th in my discard pile that I discarded earlier, so pretty good chance we hit some action here. And we're at 28 life, so my opponent's got a 6 power guy, but, like, we're not dead for 2 or 3 turns. We're going to get a couple more draw steps here. And patch without taking a day. That is upside. You're not wrong. So we'll take 6 here. We're going to have to sacrifice one of our Syzygies. The Culmination in Blood was really quite a beating. It made us discard 5 cards. Hopefully we can find a bounty, please. Alright. Lanupaw Sight makes our next few cards draw some extra cards. I'm going to go ahead and play the Sapphire Shard out here, and then, assuming the top card of our deck isn't a 3rd Syzygy, we're probably going to be able to snowball next turn. But actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the Syzygys are out of our deck, so the top card of our deck should guaranteed draw an extra card next turn, which is sweet. So hopefully it's not resource into resource. We are going to be dead in 2 or 3 here, it looks like, because they're attacking for 9 now. Yep. So this is 9. We're going to 13. Next time they're attacking for 11. So we're dead in 3 still right now. So hopefully this Lanupaw Sight snowballs us into a combo kill here. I would just like to draw my entire deck. That's all I want to do, so I'm playing this deck. Yep, so long Syzygy. Alright, there's a resource. Don't draw me another resource, please. Alright, Lanupaw site draws me a card. And this makes my next card draw some more cards. Play Arcane Focus. Bounty the Magus, please. Sweet. Bounty draws 4 cards. We could Psychic Ascend, but I think we're better off actually just trying to combo them this turn. So let's Bounty the Magus, which is probably going to draw us more bounties than Magus. So the next bounty will draw us 5 cards, and these are free from the Syzygies from earlier. Sweet. So then here's how the combo works. So we draw these Violet's Caresses we've been drawing all game, and we kill our opponent. I think I'm going to be a little bit conservative here and kill their Darkheart with the first Violet's Caress, just in case we get really unlucky and we brick on our combo. But if we completely go off here, we're going to draw way more than enough Violet's Caresses to kill my opponent. So the Caress, every time we play it, it puts itself back into my deck here. And they do 1 more point of damage. So like this Violet's Caress does 8 points of damage. So this puts them to 11. So now I only need to draw 2 more copies of Violet's Caress to win the game. And this Bounty the Magus is drawing 6 cards. And our deck has 20 cards in it. 4 of which are Violet's Caress and 3 of which are more Bounty of the Magus. Yeah, sweet. So, you know, Violet's Caress you again. And now there's 16 cards in my deck. And these draw 7 cards. So opponent is dead here. Whee! Storm count is 12. And we could have drawn more cards there, you know, to prove a point, but we didn't need to. They're actually just dead here, so we can not waste anyone's time. Opponent said good games, opponent. Opponent's a good sport. That matchup's kind of tough for them. I'm gonna put a couple more ice in my deck. So ice are utility resources. I think I'm gonna put, let's go to 7 ice. I'm not actually sure what number I want. And what ice are, they are slow shards, so they don't make a resource the turn that you play them. They do not make a temporary resource, and they let us fate weave, so they kind of, ice make 1 resource hands very keepable, because when you play the ice, we can guarantee we're gonna draw a non-resource the following turn. If you draw your entire deck, you lose the game. So if you go to draw a card but cannot, you lose the game. A lot of the base mechanics are very similar to Magic. The game's a lot like Magic Plus in a way. It kind of takes the core that Magic has and makes the resource system a little bit more fluid for online, and then adds some nice digital aspects to the game. One of the other things that's really sweet about Hex I don't think I've talked about tonight, coming from Magic, is that they use the digital aspect to reduce variance in a lot of really good ways. And the best way that they do that is the opening hands in Hex aren't random from the pure standpoint. What they do is they use a modified hypergeometric distribution, and they trim the 10% most resource light hands and the 5% most resource dense hands that your decks could generate, and basically you just don't generate those hands in your possible opening hand. So basically everyone in Hex mulligans 15% less, because there aren't no landers and there aren't all lander hands that you like have to mulligan without even thinking about, just because you can't play a game. And again, I mentioned the champions earlier tonight. My opponent's champion is Angus the Arsonist, which for 4 charges just like sends a blast to my dome. And one of the things that I really love about Hex is it lets you make informed decisions before you mulligan because of the champion. So my opponent's champion signifies that they're likely playing a Ruby aggressive deck that's just going to try and run me out of the game. So it kind of lets me make an informed mulligan decision here before we've even started the game. So this hand doesn't have Runebind or Transmogrifade or Violet's Caress in it, which are all cards I need to be kind of competitive in against the Ruby deck. So I think I'm going to go ahead and mulligan this hand, even though it's mostly functional, because it's not good in this particular matchup that I'm playing. And I like having that informed decision, like, you know, especially if you're playing like a control deck in Magic, it's like, well, I just kind of got ran out of the game because like I had a hand that was good in a mid-range matchup and my opponent was playing an aggressive deck. That being said, this matchup isn't great for us. So I mentioned that we're good against the dirtily mid-range decks and we're fantastic against control decks. We're really bad against aggressive decks. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if they run us out of this game. We have 2 Runebinds in this hand, which are like reasonable, but like they just played a 3/1 for 1, so you know, details. I stack some resources on top of my deck, so I guaranteed to make my first 4. Yeah, that's true, Cliffy, but, like, those hands do happen. Like, as a TCG player, like, you see those hands happen fairly frequently. Like, when you're playing, well, it's not frequently, but, like, when you're playing a lot of games, you're getting a lot of one and no resource hands. They're just, like, you look at these and go, I can't keep these because I just don't get to play a game if I keep this hand. So we were on the play, and we have 2 Runebinds here, so if my opponent misses drawing a Shard for a turn or 2, we could be good. And they did not draw a resource, because if they drew a resource, this would revert and play. Oh, in this game, yes, correct. In fact, there is a there's a table that shows you, I think it's if you have 27 resources in your deck, your opening hands will always have between 2 and 6 on 7 cards. So you will never have an all-land hand, and you will never have a no-land hand, effectively. All right. Maybe we can snowball enough cards here. Oh, I probably should have Blood Iced first. Huh. Alright, let's play this out. Grab a non-resource. Alright, we've got a couple of Runebinds here. Maybe we can snowball this advantage. We really need to find Violet's Caress here so we can start killing their things and gaining some life. They have a Mama Yeti here. They're going to run us out of this game. Oh, no Mama Yeti. Yes, they did Fate Weave last turn, so worth noting. For 5 here. And worth noting that we're at -3 life because their champion power does just blast us. Gouache Ridge Tusker. That's really aggressive. That's a fantastic draw. So let's go ahead. Put a non-resource on top of my deck here. Love to draw Violet's Caress. Let's play this. Syzygy's actually a good hit. That's going to let us start kind of comboing our opponent here. At some point, maybe. So, we're going to Runebind the bolts. Oh, I should have Runebound. Nah, maybe. If I Runebound this earlier, every time this readies, he gets to get a Valor. So he's probably Valoring the Gouache Ridge Tusker. Sabertooth. That's rude. So that was a card. They revealed it to me, and then it goes back into their deck. So I'm Runebinding a couple of things here. I think it's this one, because this attacks for 4, because it gives something plus power equal to its power. And I think it's just this Bolt Spasm. And then we'll take 5 on the attack, and we're going to 9, and then we're basically at 6 because of their champion power. And then maybe, just maybe, if we draw a bunch of Violet's Caresses, we can win this game. We're pretty unlikely to win this game, but, you know. Like I said, the matchup's hard, but we're going to give it a fight and try. Yeah, the speed troops are Runebind is not great against them. Alright, and there's Lasgard's Venge. So this card, it starts as an 8 cost, and every time one of their troops attacks, it gets -1 cost permanently, and it does 4 damage to us and our troops. So we're at 2. Violet's Caresses, please. It's not a Violet's Caress. It's a Syzygy. I would like some Violet's Caresses, please. Those are not what I'm looking for. Alright, I believe we're just dead at this point. And that Violet's Caress is too little too late because it costs us 2 resources. Yep. Like I said, this matchup's pretty tough. I'd be pretty surprised if we win. Usually we can take a game off of them, but winning the entire match is very difficult. I bring in 4 copies of Cheap Shot, which is a 1 cost that gives an opposing troop -1/-1. So we'll bring those in, and I cut these Lanupaw sites because they're kind of clunky. And the Psychic Ascension, so we get a little bit more interaction post-board, but still not a stellar matchup for us. You have basically 16, like this is kind of 1 cost interaction. We got like 16 pieces of 1 cost interaction, but a lot of our deck just dirtles, so we tend to get run over. Got the play here. Pretty easy redraw. We don't have any of our Arcane Focuses or Ice, so we're not going to guarantee to a second resource. What convinced me to change decks at the last minute? The Reanimator deck that we had been testing had a really bad matchup against Ruby Diamond Ardent, which ended up not being that popular of a deck, so we probably should have just stayed on it. I regretted my choice to change decks. I should not have changed decks at the last minute. It was a bad decision. I should have played the deck that we tested all week, or played this one, because I would have had more fun playing it. Ah, always the Bolt Spasm on one. Where's a cheap shot? Can I get a cheap shot? Thunderfield Seer is a decent draw here. So this can block the Bolt Spasm. We can Transmogrifade whatever their other play is. And then next turn we can Heart's Whisper, which feels good. Guarantee some more resource drops. So even though our actual resource count is very light in this deck, we get to guarantee a lot of resource drops because of the Fate Weave mechanic, which feels good. Baby Yeti, sure. Let's probably attack with both of these. Just the Baby Yeti. Huh. Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't think I'm going to burn the Transmogrifade or trade this here, so I'm going to take that hit and start my turn. Blood Ice. I think I like this artwork better than the alternate art one. I need to double check the alternate art, but I think I like this one the most. I posted a picture on Twitter, and we'll probably stream with it later this week. I just didn't feel like playing it tonight. We had a Reanimator deck powered by Sparrow that was very reasonable. And, like, the fact that they have a Fireball here is a reason to maybe have Transmogrifaded this last turn. We could have saved ourselves some points of damage here. Where are my cheap shots? Runebind is a good draw. Go play this. This, put a non-resource on top of my deck. Pass the turn with Transmogrifade and Runebind up here. What's going on, Peace Stinker? Is there an angry Mama Yeti in my future? The nice thing about Syzygy being here, there is Angry Mama Yeti. So this card has a deck building restriction. You can only include one Mama Yeti in your deck for every Baby Yeti that you have. So like 1/1 with speed for one not particularly powerful card. But when you get to play a 5/5 Speed Crush in your deck, it's worth the downside of including this card in your deck. So I'm going to turn this into a random 3-drop, which this still attacks for 4, but it's not attacking this turn at least. I should have Runebound before I let him trigger his thing here. Yep, he's targeting there. So I'm going to go ahead and Runebind their 3/1 here. And then we'll take 3 down to 17. And then we're effectively at 14 because their champion power is looming here. That's a free Runebind. Sign me up. Oh, this Arcane Focus is Prophesize. That's pretty good. Forgot we played a Seer. Yep, Seer's great. I blocked something. We get to draw an extra card. Which are Cheap Shot. That's pretty great. Yep, let's just do this. And so Cheap Shot, in addition to giving a troop -1/-1, it also generates me a random troop with one cost. So sweet. I got a 2/1. Sign me up. Sign me up. And this Runebind is free because our last Runebind we played while Syzygy was out. So we got that going for us. So this Seer, probably going to save it to trade with this Bolt Spasm. And we know one of our opponent's 2 cards is a resource right now because I just recast this. Hopefully they don't have a Lasgar's Vengeance. If they do have Lasgar's, we'll just Runebind it for now. This list is more refined than the previous iterations of Escalate that I played on stream. We've had a little bit more time. I'm going to go ahead and trade my 2/1 with this 4/2. And just take 1 here because, again, I want to save my Thunderfield Seer to block their 3/1 as opposed to their 1/1. I'm going to play this Heart's Whisper, and I'm going to guarantee a resource with the Fate Weave here. So, this is kind of an interesting card. This lets them take an action off the chain and put it into their hand, and then if they don't play this next turn, they have to give it back to me, but I don't want them to draw 2 cards, so I'm going to go ahead and Runebind their Riposte here. Yeah, the Thunderfield Elder, I think, is what you mean. Yeah, that card. Basically, this deck just wants to draw more cards, and Thunderfield Elder doesn't actually draw cards for us. It just, like, kind of delays a little bit. And rune binding something like Riposte here is quite excellent for us because it just gets voided like that when there's not a target for it on the chain, which is kind of great. So I'm assuming they're just going to attack with Baby Yeti again. Really? Okay, so do they hit... No, they hit a resource. We know they hit a resource. So yeah, I'm going to take that trade there, and I'm going to Violet's Crest that one. And then this Theorize is Prophesy, so it's going to draw 2, discard 1, and then draw an extra 1. We're looking for like more Heart's Whispers. Getting Bounty the Magus going at this point seems excellent. I think I'm going to bin the Transmogrifade for I think we're at a high enough life total that I can afford to do that. We drew another resource, so kind of punished for discarding that. We drew a Theorize, though. Yep, not a problem. I knew what you meant. So I'm going to hold the resource at this point because it's our 7th resource, which lets us draw 2 cards with my champion power, so I think that's worthwhile. Since we drew 2 pieces of interaction, we could just bin one of those. Opponent has Boltwing Phoenix here, which we will then Transmogrifade into a random 2-drop for them. Scroll of Yazukan. So this card gives them a counter every time a troop dies, and then when there's 6 counters, they get a 6/6. So pretty far off. Opponents had enough. I agree. We're a pretty heavy favorite to win that game from there, I think. Not a lock, but pretty heavy favorite. Yeah, I think this card's great. This card is one of the pieces of the glue that held our Reanimator deck together as well. It's very good in this deck also. It's like reasonable selection for pretty low cost. It lets us play 4 copies of the Syzygy constant without too much punishment because we can discard them later. That being said, I mentioned we can usually take 1 game in this matchup. This game, where we are on the draw, is going to be exceptionally difficult. We've got Thunderfield Seer and Transmogrifade here, though, so, you know, maybe there's a chance. Let's go ahead and play this resource, and then play the Seer. If we hit, like, Violet's Caress and some more Transmogrifades or a Cheap Shot or 2, we could be in business. $10 out of 10 blocking here if they offer it. Just want to get our trades in early and often, preserve our life total. Do they have another resource? They do. It's a Slow Shard. God bless. That's a Cheap Shot that draws a card. Awesome. I'm going to put a non-resource on top of my deck since I already have resources 3 and 4 guaranteed. Righteous Outlaw, yep. Alright. Well, their hand is just slow enough that we're doing okay so far. Get to kill their guy and draw a card. That felt really good. Man, that felt good. Go ahead and cast it. It even gives us fodder for Theorize if I don't want to play this out. Yeah, I think that's exactly what we're going to do here, actually. It's just bin this. I'm going to play a non-slow resource. That way we can have Cheap Shot, Runebind, or Transmogrifade here. It might be right to keep that just because it, like, gains some life. Whoa, no play is kind of insane for us. The bounty of the Magus is many, so pass this back. I'm going to go ahead and let them do their thing. Let's stop on their main phase, right? So the first bounty will draw 1 card, the second bounty will draw 2 cards, etc., etc. Go ahead and play this bounty here. And the reason why I want to play this bounty during their second main phase here is because if they have a copy of Riposte in their hand, when they get to their end step, that's going to go back to our hand. And same thing with this Cheap Shot. I'm going to go ahead and Cheap Shot this now, so that way, if they Riposte this, it's going to come back to my hand on their end step. Alright, and I think at this point, I want to guarantee a resource on top of my deck, so that way I can hit my 6th resource next turn, so I'm just going to go ahead and pass again. Oh, I messed up. Alright, thankfully they didn't have it. I clicked through their main phase. Syzygy, sweet. I'm going to play the Sapphire Ice, which again guarantees a resource drop for next turn for us, which feels good. And And this next bounty is going to draw 3 cards, and then it's going to start making bounties and other things cheaper, so we might be able to combo off next turn or the turn after. And if they have a Riposte here, I have a Runebind for it. And if they have another Riposte, that's fine, but now they don't have 2 resources up here. So that means at the end of their turn, this bounty's going to come back to my hand. It's going to get reverted. I guess that means it only draws 1 card. And they go ahead and they pack it in here. So they're pretty unlikely to win from that position that they're in. So we beat the Angus matchup, which is, you know, hard. Cheap shots feel really good. I hadn't played cheap shots in previous iterations of the deck. I've been testing Exarch of the Egg in that slot, and cheap shot seems like it might be a lot better. I don't know if it makes the matchup winnable. Opponent's draw was definitely kind of mediocre in that 3rd game, but, you know, I'm saying there might be a chance. I'm also saying I probably should have played the Storm deck today in the CCS. I'm going to play 1 or 2 more matches before we call it a night. I wasn't planning to stream too late. I want to do the dishes before I go to bed too, but I felt like drawing a bunch of cards here, so I figured I might as well stream with it and get some good recording in. Mazone here with, I forget what this champion's name's called. It's been a while since I've seen it. Benevolio, usually a Ruby aggressive champion again. Yeah, I think this hand's probably pretty good, right? We've got Runebind and Violet's Crest here, and a Syzygy to play on the 2nd turn of the game. I'm going to put a non-resource on top of my deck for now. I've got another Fate Weave from here and another Fate Weave from here if we need resources later. What was the deck you'd audible out of for control? We had been testing a Reanimator deck all week. Sweet. And again, we're going to... I think I want to preserve my life total here above all else, so I'm going to go ahead and play this Well of Cunning for blood, and then I'm going to go ahead and Violet's Caress this Bolt Spasm on their turn. Unless they play a Righteous Outlaw. Nah, I'm going to kill the Bolt Spasm if they play Outlaw. I think this is probably very similar to the last deck we played against. People are not quite set on what champions are correct to be playing just yet. And maybe, yeah. Yep, so a little bit of variation in the troops that my opponent is playing, but the base of their deck feels like it's very similar. Yeah, today was the Hex CCS. That's their every other month 5K that you have to qualify for. Another Violet's Crest. Wow, are we going to be doing it? I'm going to put a resource on top of my deck here. And then, yeah, I think we're just going to pass and Violet's Crest here again. Nah, I'm going to play this Syzygy. I think we're at a high enough life total with this Violet's Crest. We're going to buffer our life total a little bit more. And I can just Transmogrifade or Runebind this turn. Because, like, getting a Syzygy trigger on the Violet's Crest is really pretty valuable here. I played a really poorly built Sapphire Diamond control deck. We were off a lot of cards. I didn't spend enough time working on it personally, and the other people on my team that I worked on with, I shouldn't play decks that other people have built without touching them myself. It was definitely my fault. Made sure the flames. Yep, that's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and Transmogrifade that before they get to attack. Let me see. Here's the Ruby. I mean, it looks good from these games, right? Almost certainly, these games are making it look great, right? And you draw all the Violet's Caresses and like your interaction lines up well. And who knows? Like maybe the cheap shots that I put in the reserves are like the extra cards that this deck really needed to be competitive in this style of matchup. Jerk of the Flames. Yep, I'm going to go ahead and Runebind this just to stall it for a turn. And then I'm going to Violet's Caress this one to take it off the table. And then next turn we can Heart's Whisper to gas back up. I wonder if they reintroduced the double Q bug when they patched recently. Seems like it might be possible. So I gained 2 there. We're going to take 3. Hopefully they brick on a resource for a turn with this. It was a Blood Sapphire deck splashing Rotten Rancor for an additional Reanimate spell. It was not the Ovo Reanimator deck. We did not like the Ovo Reanimator deck. If you check my Twitter, it's posted on there. Tweeted the deck list out later today. You can click on my media tab. And we're going to 20 here. If they brick on drawing a resource next turn for this Matriarch and this Heart of Whispers is good to us, we could possibly steal this first game, which would be kind of insane, because that means we don't have to win a game on the draw. Not having to win a game on the draw would be big game. Get to be on the play with 4 cheap shots in our deck. And I'll be streaming with the Reanimator deck that my team worked on later this week for sure. I think Andrew is going to do a write-up. It's Mike Klutz for Battle Shopper about it. He does content for them. Deck's interesting. It's really sweet. It's got good matchups against like the Diamond Sapphire control decks. It's pretty poorly positioned against Ruby Diamond Ardent. No, so the Starcaller Ancient wasn't good enough because it kept, like, turning on their removal. And, like, I just want their removal to be blank cards against us. And, like, it's kind of like a win more card. Like, when you're already comboing off through your deck and you have a lot of Prophesize cards, you really don't need to be splitting them up. Like, you only need 4 Caresses and 4 Bounties, it feels like. What champion is it? It plays Blue Spare. I'm going to find the tweet right now while my opponent's disconnected for people asking about the deck. Is this it? Yeah, that's it. Look at that. First try. That's the wrong one. There we go. There's a real link. That's sad. I hope our opponent makes it back here. I kind of wanted to see if we could win this game. That's the Reanimator variation that we were working on. One of the reasons why we like this variation of Reanimator a lot more... Actually, I can pull my browser up probably, right? Pop this out. So one of the reasons we liked this Reanimator variation a little bit better than the Ovo Reanimator deck is... yeah, the clashes in the main deck that we played today were pretty terrible. Hollowed Ace did top 8 with the deck list that we played, but it was really unrefined, and I think the Clash of Steel is still really poorly positioned, and I would not play it again. So, one of the reasons why we like this Reanimator build better than the Ovo Reanimator builds that had been floating around is you get to play the card Eternal Seeker in your deck, which gets to void a bunch of things when it comes into play. So it kind of gives you like extra removal in your main deck in addition to Rotten Rancor being a removal spell. You also get to play Mordrum's Gift in the deck with the cost reduction gem in it, so you get to cast your reanimate spells on 4. So I think Burgle ran simulations for us, and you're like 45% to like put a fatty into play on turn 4, and you're like 75% to put a fatty into play by turn 5. People that said Runebind generically wasn't good in control decks are being too generalized about the card. Runebind in control mirrors is basically Dispel with upside as far as interrupts go. You could take it and like Runebind their Weaves or Runebind their Verdicts, and then they don't get those back. But the key to Runebind being reasonable is playing it in a deck like what I'm playing here, or like this Reanimator deck that we played, where you can actually leverage an advantage in it. In the Sapphire Diamond deck, you leverage the advantage from runebinding your opponent by playing cards like Darkheart, where like you runebind their card and then the Darkheart makes them sacrifice the rune. So like it's not just a tempo play. As a tempo card, Runebind is a really weak hex card, because like as soon as your opponent draws a resource, you immediately catch back up in all of that tempo that you've generated. So it's not really a tempo card. It's like it's a delay card that like slows them down a touch. Worth noting that Runebinding another Runebind, it doesn't work out particularly well because when their Runebind comes off, they get to Runebind one of your permanents. So, but yeah, I think a deck's like this Reanimator deck, and actually what happened in this Reanimator deck a lot of time is you'd Runebind their stuff and then bring Seeker back and then like void their 2-cost things. So, and again, you have to have some kind of, and actually, Runebind and Transmogrifade with Eternal Seeker actually have really good synergy because, like, against a deck like Redlings, you can, like, Runebind their 1 or their 3-drop or Transmogrifade their 3-drop and give them multiple 2s, and then Seeker and then clean up all of their 2s. Sparrow would be the champion. So basically, you don't have to have an extra way. Like, one of the reasons the Ovo deck is clunky is because you have to draw a discard outlet and you have to draw a reanimate spell. In this deck, your champion is your discard outlet. So you just have to draw a reanimate spell on a fatty. Yeah, Alchemite is very good. It grinds very well against, it gives the Sapphire Diamond deck fits, and it is great against the Blood decks. Just like this threat that's impossible to kill that generates card advantage. So we were pretty happy with this list. The Redlings and the Mono Ruby matchup were about a coin flip, and you were pretty favored against the mid-range and control decks in the format. I've been deceived. Nope. And actually, this is actually a Reanimator deck. It's funny. We were testing for the CCS, and we're like, we are actually playing Reanimator versus Storm right now in Hex's standard format. It's so weird. That worked for. I don't know that I have the Reanimator list public on TCG browser. If you look up Android in the CCS, I can just it's on PvP tools. Android was the only person on our team that played it in the CCS. He had a medium minus result. So if you want to see the deck list, he had a really bad Transmogrifade bite him. So this is the deck list here. I think this opponent is still timing out. I seem to have some kind of double Q or something issue. Womp womp. So I guess we'll play one more after this. I was thinking this was going to be my last one, but I would like to close on actually playing a game. Andrew, Mike Klutz is the one that came up with the core for this deck. And then we all kind of worked on and refined it for the last couple of weeks. It's a lot of fun, though. I think it gives the Diamond Sapphire control deck fits, which is, and it's reasonable against Redlings, which were like the 2 best performing decks in the CCS. So I think that you're definitely going to see this become a staple on the ladder once myself and the rest of the people on our team start playing it. Because we didn't play this on the ladder at all because we didn't want people to know what it was if we thought it was good. This kind of sweet and powerful thing. So in Hex, when your opponent disconnects like this, it's kind of annoying. I guess they got to give them adequate time to reconnect when you're playing a match, but we have to wait 5 minutes per game for them to time out of the game. After 5 minutes, they get a game loss, so have to wait a couple more minutes here. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out here this evening. There's a lot of different things you could be doing, different people you could be watching. Thanks for spending part of your time here with us. If you're enjoying what you see and you're new, please consider using that follow button. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps other people find my stuff. If you're really enjoying what you see and want to help me produce more of this content, there's a couple of different ways you can do that. The first is by subscribing on Twitch or becoming a patron on Patreon. You can also support my content by supporting my sponsor. If you're going to buy some Hex cards anyways, do so at hexprimal.com. Use code Jeff5 to save yourself 5% on your orders. Really don't like Alchemite. That card is insane and limited. 2 or 3 of my losses came with the card of that name. Yeah, card's very good and constructed. Super reasonable. No, Bob, I think we're just going to play one more match with this. I'm not planning to stream very late. I'm planning to play the Legacy Challenge and the Clash tomorrow, and then planning to stream some Standard Magic tomorrow night, and I want to get the dishes done before I go to bed. The new Mercenary they released, 2 resource, Violence with Life Drain is a thing. Oh, Mercenaries are a PvE thing, right? But Bob, by play the Clash, I mean I'm going to pay 1,500 plat, look at my sealed pool, and if the sealed pool is bad, just play the Legacy event. I really wish we had constructed events on Sundays in Hex. Limited blows. Even good limited is worse. A good limited format is worse than a bad constructed format most of the time in my mind. Waiting for the opponent to time out. Waiting for the opponent to time out. I'm fine with a limited tournament, but the core problem is that Constructed only has the weekend tournaments. Is that just... Yeah, honestly, I wish... I don't know. Do people like the 5-shard weekly events? Do like casual players like the 5-shard weekly events? Because as a competitive player, I feel like the 5-shard weekly events are a waste of my time just because of their structure. And like, I feel like it would be a much better use of like the prizes that those tournaments give out if they just like compound the prizes from the weeklies into like one larger weekly tournament that was Swiss that you could play every week, that you could like have. See, single elimination is so miserable. I hate single elimination tournaments. They suck. Like, I can't, like, set aside a day and go, okay, this Saturday, I'm going to play that tournament, and I'm going to play all day. I like my deck. All right, so you're winning at the single elimination tournament, so you're enjoying them, sure. But, like, as someone who understands that, like, these games are games of variance, like... Yeah, I just, I know if I want, and like, the problem with the weekly tournaments too is because they're single elimination, like, I guess you could have coverage for them, but like, one of the big things Hex lacks that it needs to like, become that esport or like, step up its online presence is that we need a consistent weekly tournament series that people can tune in and get, and see coverage for. Like, I think it would do wonders for Hex if I knew every Saturday afternoon or morning or evening or whatever, I could turn on twitch.tv/Hex and see Hex constructed coverage, because constructed coverage is better than limited coverage. And that's not just my opinion, that's objective opinions based on data from Magic. Like, limited coverage blows compared to constructed coverage. The numbers are much worse. But you don't have to have the same person casting it every week, Hacky. Like, if there was a weekly Hex tournament every Saturday, I personally would be willing to cast a minimum of one weekend a month. Like... I just feel like if we had some tournament, and like, if they could do scaling prizes, like you could just do some... Actually, I sent a message today to Corey Jones asking him if we could get weekly tournaments with prizes, like just small entry fee. You can do 300 plat, 500 plat, whatever, and just have the prizes scale with the entry fee so you never lose money. I don't think we need on-demand queues for coverage. Like, I think coverage would help Hex grow, and a consistent tournament that you could watch every weekend. Like, because people, like, there's tons of people that never play in an SCG Open, but, like, they know the coverage exists, and they expect it, and they go see it, and they, they wait for it. So they're like, oh, it's Saturday, let's turn on the coverage, because that's the game we play. Even though we don't play in the tournaments, we know we could watch the coverage, because we enjoy watching coverage. I agree that having on-demand constructed tournaments would be good for my pocketbook. Like since I started playing Magic Online again, I cash $200 to $300 a month out of Magic Online because I have a very good win rate in digital TCGs, just like in paper TCGs. So like, I win a lot and I make money in these on-demand tournaments that I'm playing constantly while streaming. But like, from a coverage and growing Hex as an esport standpoint, regular consistent tournaments would be better than on-demand tournaments. Like, Chris Van Meter has mentioned he'd be willing to cast a Hex tournament on occasion. Matt Bamonte and Kent Ketter, Mike Kletz, Andrew's here in town with me. Like, we could even have two of us in my basement, or Mike's basement, or Matt's basement, like, casting from the same room. I'm not saying it has to be either or, Metro. I'm just saying you talking about what you want is not talking about what I think is good to grow Hex as a game. I agree with you that on-demand tournaments would be nice, and I would farm money playing them because I'm an above-average TCG player, and you're an above-average TCG player too, Metro, so, like, you would likely farm money playing them too. And I get it. You want to, like, farm the idiots, but, like, us, the better TCG players, being able to farm idiots isn't what's going to make Hex grow as an esport. It would help us make profit, and sure, I'm all for making profits and love cashing money out of Magic Online every month, but in terms of what's best for the game, it's not necessarily what's best for the game in terms of helping it grow. Ooh, a Violet's Caress that draws a card. Sign me up. Man, could we be in a position to win this game? I don't want to get ahead of myself here. We're on the draw against Mono Ruby. We could die. That's Boltwing Phoenix, yep. So this Violet's Caress can kill this one, and then next turn I can Transmogrifade this one. Shard. Ding. Fries are done. So now I can Transmogrifade this, and I think I want to just hold up Violet's Caress slash a second Transmogrifade here at this point. Yep. And with that, let's go ahead and zap this, and then we'll zap this. Okay, I like when my Transmogrifades are hard removal. Oh, if we're really lucky, we're going to Transmogrifade this into something that this Violet's Caress can kill. Well, that's still a 5-5, but it can't attack us this turn, and it slowly dies, I guess. Guess Theorize, see what we find. Looking for a resource here. We found one. I'm going to bin this Lanupaw site for now. Yeah, I think so. Let's focus. Runebind's pretty good. I'm going to put a resource on top of my deck here so we can possibly Caress plus Bounty next turn. It is synergy with Scroll, isn't it? That's funny. I think by the time this is making 6/6s, we're either going to have won or lost the game anyways, so... Yep, those are pretty good. We're gonna Violet's Caress this Dorko, and remember, we are actually 3 points of life lower than our box says because our opponent has a champion power at the ready here. I think I'm just gonna Theorize. I might discard this Bounty of the Magus depending on what we find here. Heart's Whisper and Runebind. Yeah, I'm gonna bin this Bounty for now. I think we're not quite at the snowballing point, and this Heart's Whisper and this Transmog and this Runebind are way more important. I'm gonna go ahead and Transmogrifade this Bolt Spasm. Hopefully turn it into a pouch. That's a cat. That's fine. Still 2 less power. Take 5 here, down to 11. Remember, we're at a virtual 8 from this. Looking for another Caress. Neither of those are Caress. Let's go ahead and play this Blood Ice and put a non-resource on top of my deck. Go ahead and play this Thunderfield Seer. This counts both sides of the table, right? They're actually going to get a 6/6 pretty soon here. Troop enters a crypt if this isn't played. They're fireballing my dork. Yep. So we're at a virtual 4 here. If they drew last card, Vengeance were exactly dead. They did not. Caress. Another Runebind. Alright, well. Feel like I'm Runebinding something. Put a non-resource on top of my deck. Oh, actually, I can hit this, right? And then draw 2 cards. Maybe find a Caress. Neither of those are Caress. Alright, I think I'm just passing the turn here. I need this Runebind up. Feels like. Yeah, I'm just gonna pass. Okay, well, we're not dead this turn, I don't think. Boltwing. Am I going to Runebind that just to draw a card? I think I am. It's a Blood Ice, that's unfortunate. Only draws one card. Yep, we're gonna do this. Put a non-resource on top of our deck. Again, looking for a Caress. That's a Caress. I'm gonna bin this Lanupaw site for now because it doesn't represent immediate card draw. I think I'm just gonna pass the turn. We're just supposed to kill this now. Yeah, they could draw something good that I'd rather. Okay, they did not draw a resource for the turn. They have 2 burn spells here we could die. Okay. Going to 3. I'm going to play this in a turn. If they have a fireball, we're dead. I feel like if they had a fireball, they would have done it in response to that other thing, though. The Caress. We're flooding a little bit here, which feels a little bit bad. But if we hit a Bounty or a Heart's Whisper or another Caress, we could end up being fine. They drew a resource, so we're going to 1 here. I don't think I want to re-Runebind this. I think I want to save the Runebind for something else. So we need to find something to snowball at this point. That's a Sabertooth. We're going to Runebind the crap out of that one, because it's going to be lethal. Alright, I have to hope to hit a good one here. That is not a good one. So we're just dead here to the Phoenix in the air. So close to winning a game 1 here. Syzygy kind of messing us up there at the end. And the Lanupaw sites you saw us just looting through those because they're kind of clunky. It's possible maybe I was supposed to take a turn off at one point there to cast the Lanupaw site, because we did kind of sputter out of action there at the end. And if we would have like invested a Lanupaw site, we would have been able to pick up 3 extra cards. I did end up playing a Bounty of the Magus for just a single card at one point, so maybe I was supposed to ditch a Bounty instead of a site. I have to go back and watch the replay and see if I had an opportunity to do that. This hand, not going to cut it in this matchup. Needs some interaction. This hand's not super interactive, but it's got the Caress on 2, so it's probably fine. Caress on 2 into Whisper on 3. Yep. Matt, is this you? I thought you were the goat, Matty. Shoot the Stork down. Basically fogs the Baby Yeti for the turn 2. I think we're playing Heart's Whisper with non-resource. I don't know, let's see what we draw. Sweet, we hit a resource, so I'm definitely playing this for non-resource now. That's not what we're looking for at this point. Probably gonna lean on Theorize next turn. Matriarch of the Flames. I'm ready for my beatdown opponent. And again, like, we've had a lot of really... We actually beat Tron earlier today. We were kind of competitive in the first game, and I said this matchup's bad. I was not joking when I said it was bad. So these are probably a little bit more representative of what I'm expecting this matchup to... What I'm expecting to happen in this matchup. Please no, mama. That's unfortunate. What am I rune binding here? 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. Hit for 5 here. And remember, we're at a virtual 3 loss because of this. Start here. Theorize into a Prophesized card, hopefully. Okay, technically Theorize into Prophesize card. I'm looking for, need like, oh, that's a good start. Non-slow shard? It's a slow shard, yep. And again, the ice is biting us, and I mentioned I had some non-ices for our first few matches today, because again, it makes these matchups much harder when all of your resources are coming into play and don't make resources right away. Let's block here. Maybe if they don't draw resources for a while, we could sneak out of this. We are at 9, remember, because of this. It's an Arcane Focus. Alright, what do you got? Guess I'll take a bounty of the Magus. It's not exciting. Put a non-resource on top of my deck. I'm cheap-shotting this, and then putting the Dork into play, and then we can Runebind the Matriarch, perhaps. Ooh, Naive Lackey's actually a pretty good hit. That's a straw card when it dies. If the other thing is that they draw a resource next turn, they're going to get to make a burn to the ground off of this, so it's like doubly bad for us. Yep. So I built one Phoenix, yep. So put this here. Runebind over here. And this is the reason why I didn't play this deck today. Because it's ooh. Dead to the champion power. Alright, let's play one more. Hopefully find a non-Ruby deck to close the night out on. We are 1-1 against the Ruby deck this evening. Just, you know, be above the board. It's not an impossible matchup. Difficult, not impossible. Which is why, you know, I like the Hexus Constricted Formats on average. There's a lot of different decks, and you don't have all good matchups, but even the bad ones tend to have some play to them. Angus is back. Next Crocosaur will be everywhere. Yeah, the aggro decks are keeping. Believe me, you do not. Ooh, Renner. It's actually pretty good against our prophecies. This hand's pretty good, though. Again, just like tap Shard City, slow Shard City, whatever you want to call it. Dead if they draw a resource, dead if they don't. I don't know if we're dead if they don't. If they don't hit a resource, they're like, the Naive Lackey is like chumping the Matriarch, and they're not making a burn to the ground, and like, the resource is kind of their bottleneck. So I think if they didn't draw a resource, we might have actually been okay. Redlings is functionally very different than Angus. And Redlings has 24 health. That's exactly correct. And that's a big part. Like, the aggressive deck having 24 life was kind of a big deal. I'm gonna use this Blood Ice to put a resource on top of my deck. So if we had a non-slow resource, we can Heart's Whisper next turn, potentially. Or Violet's Caress plus Runebind. Opponent's likely playing a slower, grindier deck, so I probably want to Heart's Whisper next turn. They play like a vampire. They're playing Sapphire Blood. Interesting. Okay. Ding, ding, ding. Non-slow resource. Play this Heart's Whisper. Pick up 2 cards. Here's your another Heart's Whisper, and because of the Syzygy, this Heart's Whisper now only costs 2. The question next turn is going to be, do I want to play the second Syzygy out? I don't think I do. I think I want to save it to discard to this Theorize. Non-slow shard means this one does not need to get a resource. Weave into nothing. We're going to Runebind their Weave here. Because again, When this weave gets unruined, it's just gonna get exiled, basically. Well, we have the caresses, you could say. These are going to pick my opponent's troops off and then go back into our deck, becoming excessively cheaper as they go. So my opponent's champion for 5 charges lets them draw the top card of our deck and makes it thresholds that they can play. Not that they wouldn't be able to play because our decks are actually the same shards, but if they couldn't. Yep, 2 more. One of the things I really like about this deck is when we draw our combo cards in the early game like this, we can use them to like pick apart our opponent's board a lot of the time. Yes, there is a Reanimator deck in Hex's standard format. One of my teammates played it in the CCS today, and I should have played it in the CCS today. It was a mistake for me to change off. 2015 Nightbells Holiday Sleeves. Reanimator start. We do kind of, don't we? I mean, Angus exists, and it's like keeping us honest, but like it's not one of the sweet things you could be doing in the format. That's really rude, opponent. Target champion discards 2 cards. I think we're binning a Caress here in this extra Syzygy. We are a critical mass deck. Opponent! Are you doing something else while we play? You don't have any resources. Can I just, like, start my turn, please? I understand if you have decisions, but please, let me theorize. Let me theorize, opponent. Do 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 do. What's the Reanimator deck called? Here's the deck list. It's the top one there, the Blue Sparrow deck list. I guess I could put it up on my TCG browser too, so you don't have to click through the tournament page. TCG browser links don't copy well into Twitch, though, which is annoying. I haven't renamed it yet, but this is the TCG browser link. You have to remove the space from it. That is the Reanimator deck list that I should have played today, rather than the control deck. Opponent must be having connection issues or something. This is what I get for playing one more before I was going to go to bed. Oh, I hid this deck list, didn't I? It's not there. I don't know why it's not there. I just sunk it. Yeah, I don't know why this one's not on TCG Browser. You can find it on PvP Tools. Yeah, I don't see it there right now. I didn't delete it. I thought I might have hidden it, but it should still show up for me if I did that. I don't actually know. You see it? Alright, I don't know why it's not showing up on my page. It's going to be called Sapphire Blood Escalate. That's what it is. It's Sapphire and Blood, and we play the Escalate cards. She's like, shh, skeleton, shh. Shh, go to sleep, little skeleton. Make sure my hex isn't disconnected. Ping. Anyone? Bueller? Anyone? Tested. Yep. Alright. Well, my chat's still alive. My opponent must just be AFK. Come on! Second AFK opponent. I'm not going to be able to play another one after this because I don't want to be up all night. Oh, my kids wake up at 7 o'clock and I need to do the dishes before I go to bed. Otherwise, the wife will be displeased. Everyone knows the key to a happy life is a happy wife. I don't see it on mine either, Limestone, so I don't know what their deal is. I don't care about long games. I just don't want to like my opponent's timer has their timer is hidden behind the visual deck list here. We've been waiting for 3 minutes, waiting for them to come back, and they're not even actually disconnected. First time watching Hex. I'm thinking about getting into any tips or thoughts. Well, the best way to get into Hex varies depending on what you are looking to do. Myself, I primarily play Constructed in all the TCGs that I play, so when I wanted to jump into Hex, I just filled a shopping cart, actually on Hex Primal, and ordered my deck, and they sent it to me via the in-game system, and I picked it up and just started playing Constructed. And now the ladder is completely free to play, so if you have a reasonable deck, you can play that and earn the free ladder rewards. I don't have a budget deck list article updated for this season yet, but actually, the last deck list here, the third deck list on this link here, actually finished 7-0 in the CCS 5K today, so it's still very, very reasonable. It's a little bit more expensive. I think it's somewhere in the $60 to $80 range. The other two on there, some of the gems have changed, but all the cards in them are still legal, but they haven't been updated with set 7 cards yet. One of my projects for tomorrow and Monday is to update my budget deck list article with cards from the latest set. And now the disconnect message. All right. So, Mike, there's actually... depending on what kind of budget you're looking to spend, a lot of the cheaper decks in Hex tend to be more aggressive decks because they play a little bit less of the rare and legendary cards. But there's actually, this deck that I'm playing right now is very similar to Storm in Legacy, and there's a Reanimator deck as well that my team worked on for the major tournament today that's reasonable as well. The Storm deck clocks in, I think, about $140, and I think the Reanimator deck's right around the same. They're a little bit more expensive in terms of... decks that Hex had. Usually competitive Hex decks range somewhere between $50 and $150 for the tier 1 decks. But the Reanimator deck is here. That's the Reanimator deck. You have to take the space out of the link because Twitch butchers the link. Yep, it has a completely free-to-play option. You get cards just for signing up. I'm going to give my opponent a chance to come back here, but I think they're disconnected, and then I'm having fun, but I do actually have to get up tomorrow morning, so... Thanks everyone for hanging out here. I appreciate everyone stopping by on a late Saturday night. If you want to check out more games with this deck, be sure to check out my YouTube page, which links the stream information below. There's not with this specific iteration. This has come a little bit more refined, but if you want to kind of see where we started and how I worked through the week on trying different things up to get to this list that I feel is fairly optimized, definitely check that out. And I'm definitely going to be streaming more with this deck later in this week. I'm not going to be streaming Hex tomorrow, but I'll be live tomorrow night with some of Magic's new standard format. So if you're a Magic player, be sure to stop by and check that out. Thanks for stopping by, folks. I'll catch y'all around later.